Welcome everyone to our Scala class, and today we will talk about the file system, reading and writing text files, again depending on your operating system, how that works in a Scala programming language. So again, of course, Wikipedia to rescue, but we will be using or IntelliJ as usual. Right, but let's start again with the idea. I think most of us are familiar with the file system. Though I hear that newer use today actually are not familiar because they're using phones, which sort of tend to hide this file system. But we have a hierarchy of data. Basically, we start at C. We have our PC. It's a sort of abstraction, right? And we have a C and D and so on, and many more partitions for our disks, or maybe multiple disks. And then you have folders, you have subfolders. We call them folders or directories, right? So again, we know that our project lives in a certain directory, right? And we want to get some, read some texts out, read some files. So let me start by creating actually a resources map. So I'll use different previous folder. I have 2 roads by Robert Frost, right? And I'll create I could copy it by directly, but I'll just make a Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V type of approach, and I will copy this where? Well, not main, not test. I'll create a new folder. Again, this could be done by hand, of course, but I'll use IntelliJ for this, right? And I'll say resources. Again, you could use another maps, but this is a typical name, right? Resources, right? So that means that on here I'll create a new file, new text file, basically a text, right? This will be, I'll call it 2 roads, right? Text, right? I'll add to Git, right? It's still all in public domain, luckily, right? So, and there's a file, right? Pretty famous poem, right? I believe famous by, many people like it, actually quite interesting, right? And of course, there are multiple interpretations possible for this, right? But our goal today is to try to read it into some sort of data structure, right? We'll start by just reading maybe lines. We'll see how it works. Okay, so the question is, where is it, right? So we can use it open in Explorer. That's probably the easiest. Again, if you have Mac or Linux Ubuntu, it will work very similarly. It will open some sort of file manager, right? And we should see it. Except I don't see it because I am not. Oh, there it is, right? Oh, there it is. Okay, so that's a pass. So notice this. If I click on Windows, right, I see this whole big pass. This is this so-called absolute pass, right? This uniquely identifies this folder, and of course you add 2 rows text on top of it, right? It will uniquely identify this particular resource. Well, resource meaning text file, right? So that's the first approach we'll take, but in general, for most projects, we don't really want the direct pass. We want something called a relative pass, meaning we want to have the file, this resource we are loading, be referred have a reference to our main project, meaning we have a relative pass depending where our main program is running. So we don't have to worry about my username or your username, where it stands here. We only care about this part up to this part here, possibly, right? So that's we'll try to progress but starting with absolute pass is usually a good first step because it uniquely identifies, right? If you can't find it there, then something else is more wrong. Okay, so we have the file there, right? Well, okay, resource. So it's not in main, right? It's here. So we will, of course, also notice we are going down in Scala, right? It's to slightly complicate our task is that we are living actually in our namespace, right? Or package, right? This is completely, this is not, this is just a text file, right? Okay, so let's make a day, I'll call it day 17 technically, right? New Scala class, object, of course, right? Day 17, reading text file, right? Something like that, reading text file. Maybe we'll write as well, but okay, I'll call it like this, and add. Right, notice our object extends app, right? We will try to read, print line, read or reading. Let's read some text file. Let's read some text files. Okay, right, and so we'll need a pass, of course. We'll need to pass, but let's see can we get actually a current working directory first? Actually, I wonder that. We actually could, right? Where are we actually? It'd be interesting to see actually. I believe we can import OS. Let's check. Let me check the example from my previous course. I believe we can. Control Shift F CVD. Do we have it? No, we don't. I thought we did. Current directory. Current working directory. Working directory. Let's see. I thought it was available. Maybe not. Yeah. So actually, it's here. It was, yeah, user directory, right? We can see this. So this might be actually, this is system property, right? This might be useful, right? So reading files, right? So and I will add it here, right? This may be a good first step. So this is system, right? System level class, right? Something to get some information about your system, right? And we'll get the user directory. Let's run it. Yeah, so this is interesting. Notice our user directory. It's not our, because we are here, right? You would think, right? Open Explorer again. I'll open Explorer, right? We'll explore where we are. We are here, right? Pretty deep, right? We are like 9 or I don't know, 10 or 12, something like that. Directory is deep, right? Or files are reading. But our actual system user directory, the reference, right? Is actually this one here, right? So not what this means to you, that everybody will get their own reference for the project, right? So this will be useful when you're doing your relative reference, right? When you're trying to find the past. Okay, that's why I didn't put the file somewhere else, right? So, but okay, we'll start with our generic, you'll find the file name, right? So we need to figure out. So I can start with, I'll use Windows example, right? And where are we here? We are resource, right? So here, right, I'll use this. An additional complication is that Linux and Mac use forward slashing system, right? This is using the backward slashing system. Generally, you want to probably go to actually forward slash system as well, right? In Windows, it should work. So what I'll copy, right? So I'll do pass, well, source maybe, right? Source or, you know, file path, right? File path, right, will be what? It's a string, right? The problem is actually, see, is it actually, the problem is this character is that it's used also as escape character, right? So this could create some problems, right? So I'm using absolute path. So using absolute path first, right? And I will need a file name, right? And it is called two roads. Okay, I'll do Shift F2, right? Right, two roads. Again, of course, you could just do it by hand, but so let's see. Right, so notice now I close this, and this is not good. Why? Because all of these are escape characters. So we have two solutions. Well, if you really had to use these backward slashes, this is Windows specific. So Windows uses for separating folders, right? Separating folders, right? So unfortunately is also used to escape some characters, like you know, like new line, you know, or tabs, you know, and so on. So they're only like, you know, 10 or so characters, but still it's important. So what solution is? One solution would be one solution, right, would be to escape those, you know, to like this. So that would be, I'll try that. Let's try that, if that works, right? Of course, if you are on Mac or Ubuntu or any other Linux system, you won't have this problem, right? So, right, so now I have a actual, so this means actually the actual path is exactly matches. So this is absolute path, right? Unique identification, right, for my file. Okay, and let's see how to read it, right? Well, we can use a Scala source, right? Thanks to Alvin, of course, as usual, from Scala Cookbook, right? We can use this. So I have my file name, and let's see. So for do line, right? And I can do something like this, right? In source, and I don't have it yet, but I'll have it from file path, of course, right? And what I'll do is I'm just going to print line, right? and I'm going to print line, right? Line, right? Nothing crazy, right? So of course I don't have source, so import class. What kind of source? We see now, you see why packaging is important. I have 5 different sources here, right? I do want the Scala one, right? Some of these have nothing to do with file reading directly, right? There's some other things. So because source, I mean, that's just a very generic name, right? I mean, and this is just our basic libraries. If we had some extra libraries, we could have more options. So I'll use this one. So now let's see. So this is the thing, right? So the question is now, the thing is, one catch is that file remains open until the script or program finishes running. So running. This is this we might need to do. See how to close a file on longer programs, right? That's something on our to-do list. We'll see about that. But let's run this simple loop and see if this works. Again, so it either works or we'll have an exception. Let's see if it does work. And yes, it works fine. The only thing is, looks like has made all the difference. Kind of interesting is that looks like it went from since each line, right? It was not really a line, right? So what happens, right? What happened is here, I actually turns out we just read a big string, right, of characters. Funny, right, how that works, right? So that's not actually what I want to do. This is not line, so this is actually big string, right? So I'll do Control D, right? And I need to add additional method. But we'll see if this actually works, because there is slight, well, we only opened the file, right? So we'll see how it works for opening it twice, right? Because we are opening twice. Well, for reading, this actually doesn't really make a big difference, right? So whole file, right? Big string, right? For character, right? Right? Print character, right? So this is probably not what you want in this case, right? So we probably want this, right? So this will be more, so lines. This will be for reading lines, right? We want to read lines of text, not single characters, right? So, but then we'll see, right? Right, this looks much better. And notice something important is that actually this is my litmus test, right? I check, there is one tiny special character in this file, right? This part here, right? This is a not standard Unicode. This is not standard ASCII. This is part of a larger Unicode, like Latvian symbols and like maybe Chinese or Russian or Spanish and so on, right? So this character, if it prints, right, in this case, right, this kind of tells you that, well, by default, Scala can read Unicode. I don't have to specify anything. For example, in Python, I have to say encoding UTF-8, right? So this looks like it's a good start, right? And also, so we learn to print all characters one by one, right? And print lines one by one. Okay, so we have learned 2 recipes. So we want to save it. Okay, we could save basically just my text, right? My poem, right? And I will do it basically source from file. So this is actually, again, we are opening multiple times. We have not closed, right? So this could be a problem. If you somehow have a big loop and you're opening file multiple times, there's going to be a limit, right? On if you have a long running script, right? But again, for now, right, from file path, and this will be, of course, a string, right? Hopefully it's string. No, actually it is not string. It is actually toString or make string, right? Make string, right? And just basically like this, right? That should work. Yeah. Okay, basically we are putting it all together, right? So this will be a string now, right? So we turn a stream of characters into one big string, right? So that makes sense, right? Because so by default, meaning I have no separators here, right? Okay, source is not closed, by the way, right? It's a good thing. Well, not a good thing, but it tells you, right? So we'll see how that works, right? And again, so I will close these. I will stop opening so many files at the same time, right? We learn these two recipes, right? So that will be one way, and then we can work, right? And then I'll do print line my string. Let's see if that works. See if this works, right? So we could save the whole file into a string, right? That would be a good idea, right? Let's see. Is this a string? It looks like a string. Yeah, it looks perfect. Okay, great. All right. Again, so that's, and I could do also my lines, right? My poem lines, right, will be source from file, my file path so far, right? And well, and I'm get lines, right? Not string, but get lines, right? So this is a method for getting lines, right? Do I have to have any parameters? No, so I'll just leave it open. Okay, so then we'll have, of course, this will be an array, probably iterator. Okay, so I probably need to have a iterator. So this means, what does it mean iterator? Well, it's not a, it's part of sequence standard, right? So you probably want to go to an array, or maybe, you know, vector or list. Probably an array would be the easiest, right? Let's see, can we go to array? Yeah, I'll do to array. I'll do to array, right? So why to array? Because I want an array, right? Array of strings. So I want to, because to array, because iterator was, lazy on demand, right? Lazy, right? So I want basically sort of fix it, right? I say, okay, I want this data stored. I'm not yet ready to loop. I want to do something else, right? Besides looping, right? Iterators are great for looping, but well, they're not really ready to do anything else, right? So I fixed it basically, right? So again, if you're doing a lot of stuff, maybe you don't need to do this. Do this maybe the last. You don't need to do multiple to arrays, right? You want to maybe keep it as an iterator, right? This is for efficiency reasons. Okay, so we have a make string and we learn our lines. So let's check, right? And we can check print by line. So print line. I'll do maybe. Can we do this? 40? Yeah, can we do this? Yeah, we can do that. Let's make a little separator, right? On for. Now we can do this part for line, of course, as you know, right, in lines, right, my poem lines, and we can do this, right? So, not too hard at all, is it, right? Print line, right, line, right, okay, let's see if that works. Printing line, printing poem line by line, right, and I'll do control, right, again, so. And I need, of course, parentheses. Right, so let's run it, see if this works. So I opened, so the thing is I'm opening twice, right? So that's not good. So we need to actually, of course, close it really, right? So that will be a part of our next task, which we'll do. But yes, it looks like we read it. Yeah, you see, we first print the whole text, right? And then I took it apart line by line. Often when working with text files, well, like a log file or syslog or any other type of log, right, you'll want to analyze them, line by line, right? So this will be useful. Okay, so that concludes the first introduction, how to read a file in Scala. So use the Scala source, again, keeping in mind it doesn't close directly the file, right? So for shorter scripts, it's good. And then we can actually process it and work on it, right? So after that, next time we will learn how to close the file, also how to write something into a file. So use these methods, right? And you can start already working. All right, thank you.